What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Nice Catch Podcast. We're here to catch you up on all the latest football news and analysis. I'm Baden.
And I'm Hank. Today, we're going to be talking about, everything we missed over the past month and a half. There's college football playoffs, the NFL playoffs, and even looking ahead a little bit to the offseason and the NFL draft. Baden, of all the times for us to miss a month and a half of recording podcasts, of course, it was Christmas break.
Yep.
There wasn't a good time.
Understandable.
But of all the times, this may have been the worst time out of the year.
Quite possibly the worst time that we could have missed.
So, for y'all listeners out there, we are going to try and cover, a bird's eye view, high flyover of everything in this episode, everything that we missed. Talk about the college football playoffs. We're going to look back at our predictions, and I am looking forward to some of that, and really not looking forward to other bits of it.
Not looking forward to most of it, I would say.
Most of it, yeah.
Yeah.
NFL playoffs, and as we said, looking towards the offseason and the NFL draft. We have draft odds looking more solidified. We have coaching hires already being made. The Lions are already without both their coordinators, so we'll talk about all of that in this upcoming episode. But first, let's look at the college football playoffs, and first let's take a look at how everything did play out, and then we can look at our predictions. Does that sound good?
Perfect.
Baden? Awesome. So, obviously we had pretty much blowouts in every game of round one. Not the most entertaining, you could say. Clemson, Texas got close at the end, but Penn State blew out SMU as was expected. Notre Dame, they didn't blow out Indiana. Indiana made it close at the end, but again, as expected. I don't know about you, but I expected Tennessee to beat Ohio State. Ohio State coming in did not look very good.
After the loss to Michigan, I thought Ohio State was down. I truthfully thought that they were done. And so I was like, I could understand that they made it into the top 12. I understood that, but I did not expect them to make it past the first round. They just didn't look like a national championship team coming into the playoffs.
100%, and neither did Tennessee.
No.
But but
they looked just that much better, though.
They did look a little better. They had a better, obviously Ohio State had a good passing game, but quarterback-wise, I was more confident in Tennessee. First game, Ohio State proved me wrong. And then I was never a Texas believer this season. Clemson.
First game would have been Notre Dame versus Indiana.
You're right.
Notre Dame won 27-17.
Yes.
I think that I expected that.
Yes, I agree. I was just looking at the bracket this way.
I'm sorry. I thought you were going in order of date.
I wasn't necessarily, but no, you're good. That's that game. It was interesting that in a lot of games we saw Indiana's quarterback Curtis Rourke have really good touch on his passes and just playing. I thought he played really well throughout the season, but playing Ohio State and playing Notre Dame, we really didn't see most of that. We saw some passes that looked really good and some playmaking ability, but obviously we know where those two teams ended up. Yeah. And so it's hard to tell if it's just because they were the two best teams in the country, at least championship-wise. So Curtis Rourke's draft stock is going to be really interesting to watch because I would draft him late round if he's still available as a backup, someone who could develop really well. He reminds me the way that he throws and his accuracy sometimes reminds me a little bit of watching Michael Penix in college. Michael Penix against Texas last playoffs was some of the best passing I've ever seen in college. And in the championship, we didn't see that. And so inconsistencies like Michael Penix, not quite the same athleticism, but also injury history. All of that will be interesting.
Yeah.
So, SMU, Penn State, blowout. Not much to talk about there. And we talked about Ohio State and Tennessee, and then Texas and Clemson. As I said, Texas, I never really had faith in them. Quinn Ewers, I do not think deserve to be viewed as a first-round pick. In my opinion. I know some people are still really high on him. I've never seen the extra factor in him. And we saw him regress this past year once he lost Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell. And Adonai Mitchell hasn't done much in the NFL, but we've seen Xavier Worthy. And so obviously losing these receivers and still having good receivers, but just not those guys, hurts him. And Clemson's returning a lot of good guys. I'm interested in next year. Especially,
see what happens.
Yeah, with the ACC not, maybe not getting all that much better as a whole. SMU will probably still be good with their quarterback returning and some key players returning, but I think Clemson has a good shot to repeat in the playoffs next year. Anything else about round one?
I really think you just about covered it. The only game that I watched I was in Germany, I believe, during round one, so I didn't get to watch any of these games. But I think they all went, except for maybe Tennessee, Ohio State, they all went just about how I was expecting. Yeah. So no big surprises there. It is always, personally, when I think about the playoffs, I never want to see blowout games. I always want them to be close. I always want them to be nail-biters. And that first round just wasn't quite that. But I think college is so widespread that I think that was kind of to be expected. But yeah, I don't have too much to add to that.
Yeah. Round two was a little more competitive. Still, it wasn't nail-biting, not all of it. Some of it, well, one game in particular definitely was.
Yeah.
But the thing I'm looking at doesn't have the order. Which game was first here for this second round, the quarterfinals?
The second round.
Boise State, Penn State was first. Is that right?
Yes. Boise State, Penn State, and then it was.
Texas,
Arizona, and then Notre Dame, Georgia, and then Ohio State, Oregon.
So Boise State, Penn State, it was a toss-up in my mind. I thought Ashton Jeanty was going to come with a vengeance. Obviously losing the Heisman. We can talk about that after we finish talking about the playoffs and look at our predictions, because I want to talk a little bit about that race not going the way that we were hoping. But Penn State's defense is really good. And it was interesting to see Maddox Madsen actually play pretty well throughout that game until it got more lopsided and some throws that weren't that great, and especially just based on the scenario. But Jeanty did put up over 100 yards against a really good defense. One of only two players to do that the whole season. So even though he didn't break the record, I still think Jeanty is worth a first-round pick, maybe even top 10 pick.
Absolutely. And, yeah, to speak towards the quarterback, I think everybody obviously had their eyes on Ashton Jeanty, but their quarterback on that stage, playing against Penn State, I was thoroughly impressed. I was able to watch that game, and, yes, like you were saying, once the game kind of began to show signs of, when you started to realize that it seemed like Penn State was definitely going to win, some things fell apart, but he really played well. He had some beautiful throws, and I was impressed by Boise State. Of course, they were coming in there ranked higher, but just because of the divisions, they played a really tough game, and I was impressed by that.
I agree there. And then we have the nail-biter of the second round, Texas and Arizona State. I walked outside right before everything went crazy, and then about 45 minutes later, came back right in time for overtime, because I was like, Texas is ahead. And as I expected. It's about, and I, could hear people yelling across the lake outside my house every time Texas messed up. And
was a lot.
Which was a lot. And this was one game because of the Big 12 and Arizona State not being a team that was super highly regarded going into the season. I mean, plenty of people ranked them to be last in their conference, which was the worst Power 4 conference, I think, by a good margin this season. I mean, the top of the ACC, of course, got ranked less, but I think that's just because the ACC wasn't didn't really have a superpower, and so their top teams had more losses.
Yeah.
But Scatterboo, this game, amazing.
Absolutely.
And just the fact that, I mean, he won Offensive MVP of the Peach Bowl on the losing team. Just to honor that is, one, because he deserved it. I mean, the way that he played.
No doubt. No doubt.
Being injured and just being more exhausted than I can imagine. And almost carrying this team to beat the SEC runner-up as the Big 12 champion with a young quarterback and a running back that's still relative. I mean, didn't come into the season as a Heisman favorite by any means, and was in the top 10 in Heisman voting. So that game is going to go down in history 100%.
Oh, yeah. And I this sounds not terrible, but, you know, I'm not a huge, I've never been a huge college football team, as in, like, I've never had a team. I've never had, like, I go for Texas, I go for A&M. But when a Texas team is playing, I just root for the Texas team. A&M is playing, I root for an A&M. Texas is playing, I go for Texas. When any Texas team, I root for them. After this game ended, I had wishful thinking, but I pretty much knew that Texas was not going to win the national championship.
No.
I was really rooting for them. You know, they were I guess SMU was in there, but, you know, Texas was the Texas team in there, and I always root for the Texas team. But after this game, I knew Texas wasn't going to be able to win the national championship. Because, don't get me wrong, Arizona State played absolutely insane. It made it a fun game to watch. It was a nail-biter. My heart rate was through the roof in the last little bit. But it was a fun game to watch, so don't get me wrong. Arizona State played amazing. But Texas, the whole second half, they fell apart. The fourth quarter was terrible. And it's possible to recover, but I just didn't see Texas being able to recover to the point of winning a national championship. And that ended up being true, and almost in the same heartbreaking fashion that could have happened against Arizona State happened in their next game against Ohio State. And so I thought that game was very telling, and it kind of brought a looming doom over Texas that ended up sadly being true.
Yes. The whole time watching them play Ohio State, I was thinking the only reason they're here is because of that 4th and 13. If that pass had been dropped, or if it had been thrown badly, or if they were, like, their offensive line didn't hold up, like, Texas wouldn't be in that game.
Yeah.
That 4th and 13 changed. Well, obviously they lost the next game, but just added to the insanity of this game. They were one 13-yard play away from losing to Arizona State.
Yeah.
That's how close it was in overtime.
Unbelievable.
Or at the end of the fourth quarter.
No, overtime.
Yeah, it was overtime.
They were Arizona State had scored in overtime. They got the ball first, scored, and Texas Texas got to 4th and 13, and then they scored on that play.
Yeah. I guess I didn't even watch the fourth quarter. I was sprinting back to my house.
trying to watch the
fourth quarter. But no. So yeah, that was the nail biter of all of the playoffs, I think.
By far.
There was other good games in here. I mean, nothing in the first round came close. Some later games were entertaining, but nothing quite like that. Notre Dame and Georgia. It went about how I expected. I really did not have faith in Gunnar Stockton to lead. I mean, just because it's his first start. You're a Georgia quarterback. You're obviously a very good quarterback if you're playing for the team that's been the best team in the country the past 5 years. But it's your first start. You're playing against a Notre Dame team that looks really good. And it's... I didn't have confidence in that Georgia team to beat this Notre Dame team. Even though Notre Dame didn't beat Indiana by all that much, even though they lost to NIU, I had faith in Notre Dame, and they pulled through in this game.
Absolutely. Yeah, I didn't have any expectations going into it. I was just hoping for a good game, and we got that. But Notre Dame, that's really, I think, coming in and even with a backup quarterback, knowing that in this round of the playoffs you have to play Georgia, I think there's a precedent that's already set, and I think it'd be really. I think Notre Dame could have gone in there with an already defeated mindset, and they didn't. And I think that showed a lot to come into Georgia and beat them 23-10. That's making a statement, and they proved themselves on that statement. And so I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't know how that game would go, and I was impressed by how Notre Dame came in there and took it.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Gunnar Stockton did have a good game, so I'll give him his credit. He 20-32 for 234 yards and 1 touchdown. So for a playoff game as your first start against Notre Dame, it is a good game. But the game-breaking play here was the opening kickoff of the second half being returned for a touchdown by Notre Dame. If you pull up the win percentage of this game, it doesn't get above 60% at all for either team in the first half. First play of the second half, you can just see, it looks like you're in the desert in some national park and you see a hill in the distance, or not a hill, like a cliff in the distance. Yeah. It's much steeper than just a hill. That's what this looks like. It goes from 57% Notre Dame to 90% Notre Dame in just a couple plays. So that was the play that really broke the game open for Notre Dame, and Georgia couldn't come back from that. On the last of the quarterfinals, Ohio State and Oregon.
Goodness.
This one surprised me.
Oh, tell me about it. Tell me about it. I was sitting there dumbfounded.
And, of course, I had a little more faith in Ohio State here. And I could see them pulling this one off because, obviously, they lost to Oregon earlier in the season by 1 in Oregon. And so if this is a neutral site and Ohio State had just come off this big win, I could see it being closer. But Oregon hadn't lost all season. Sure, they had close games and, literally only beat Ohio State by 1. I still expected Oregon as the 1 seed to get this victory. Mm-hmm. But we saw another blowout by Ohio State.
Yeah.
Did not expect that at all going into this game. And
I'm going to make a statement here.
Make a statement.
I'm going to tell you why Oregon lost.
Tell us why.
Because out of the plethora of amazing options, they chose one of their worst uniforms. They have an entire insane wardrobe in front of them, and some people probably like it. They probably like it, but I'm just telling you, there was better options out there. They went with the bad uniform. I think that's what did it. Ohio State, great team. They played well, but really, I think Oregon could have come out with a little bit of a better uniform, and I think that would have changed the game.
Yeah. Hey, well, I like the jerseys, but with the helmet and the white pants, you're right. It didn't really fit. Yeah. And if you have unlimited NIL money, you got to make the jerseys a little better.
You got to make the jerseys a little better for playoff game.
Exactly.
You know? Like, wear those in the regular season, I'm all for it. But you got to show out in your playoff game.
Yeah.
And that just wasn't quite what I was looking for, okay? It wasn't quite what I was looking for.
Hey, if you want to hear us talk more about NFL uniforms, go back to episode 4. We talked about our all-time favorite football uniforms. That was... What was that?
That was last summer. That was last summer.
Yeah, last summer, last spring. Yep. published June 3rd, 2024.
It's been a little bit.
It has been a little bit.
That's it. That one was a good episode. I remember that.
That was fun. You know,
I think we had. Do we have Cohen on?
We did have Cohen, special guest Cohen Star.
Yeah.
And so that was fun. That was right after all of the new uniforms were released.
Mm-hmm.
But
remember that well.
In case you couldn't tell, we were being sarcastic. That's not why Oregon lost.
No, yes. Oregon did not lose simply because of the uniforms. It could have been a part of it.
But, hey, you never know. Psychology definitely plays a big play in football.
Yeah.
So let's move to the semifinals. I don't remember which one of these came first. This was so long ago. I've done way too much homework since
Penn State, Notre Dame.
Okay. And this one, as the score shows, was closer than the average game. The ending was insane. Watching Notre Dame tie it up, and then Penn State with the ball, going down for a game-winning field goal. And, of course, Drew Aller did throw an interception, but I don't want to put all of the blame on Drew Aller because their coach did call that play.
Mm-hmm.
You realize that if you throw an interception here, you're likely losing the game in regulation instead of just sending it to overtime, playing it safe. So even though that interception does go on Drew Aller's stat line, and it does deserve to be there, I don't want to put all of the blame on him. But that play blew my mind, and just the way that the game shifted so quickly, again, as depicted by the win percentage, if you want to look that up. Lots of climbing and falling there. Besides the Tennessee-Arizona State game, I think this was the most entertaining playoff game.
Yeah, Texas-Arizona State.
You're right. What did I say?
Tennessee.
My bad.
UT.
It's the real UT. So, hey, even the SEC agrees. The SEC in their standings, it's UT for Tennessee and Tex for Texas. So, take that, all of you Longhorns fans, horns down. I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be unbiased. I'm a podcast host. But
I guess if the SEC has spoken.
The SEC has spoken. And
let's not forget who the real OBU is.
Exactly.
Not Oklahoma Baptist,
You're
respectfully.
right. Ouachita Baptist.
Mm-hmm.
We beat them in football last year, so, I mean, that's... Until you can reclaim the title, then we own it.
We own it.
And we were here first, so
literally.
Take that.
Goodness gracious.
And I mean, Tennessee was a university before Texas was a state, so.
That logic is hard to argue against.
So. Anyway, this game, Penn State obviously had played pretty well in these playoffs. Beating SMU, a blowout, that was impressive. And then beating Boise State was also very impressive. And the fact that they were able to hold Ashton Jeanty to that, I thought Penn State was going to win this game. Because Notre Dame's strength is obviously running the ball. They can throw, they can pass the ball, but running the ball is their strength, and we saw that in the playoffs. And the fact that Penn State was so good against the run, I thought they were going to win this game. And they almost did, but they just didn't have quite enough. They were really good against the run. Jeremiah Love had 46 total rushing yards. But Riley Leonard played a very good game throwing the ball here, which is what pulled Notre Dame above into the championship, which we watched a couple days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Then the other game, it also was very entertaining. It was close. The win percentage, if you look at this graphic, it's pretty high on Ohio State, takes a big dip at one point, goes to Texas, and then goes right back up. And then another little dip, and then back up. 14-14 for a little while, and then Ohio State scores. And then the fumble return.
Goodness.
Jack Sawyer against Quinn Ewers, his former roommate. What a storyline. I love it. I was rooting for Ohio State here. Sorry, Baden.
Okay.
I was.
It's okay.
This game was also extremely entertaining and showed us, it showed me that Ohio State's defense could win a national championship.
Yes.
And it gave me faith in their offense again. Obviously, their offense didn't have an insane game, but Will Howard's stats were really good. It showed that they weren't just relying on Jeremiah Smith. Because when you think Ohio State passing game, you think Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah Smith had how many yards, Baden? Show me. Oh, sorry, my bad. Nope, never mind. That's the wrong receiver. Hold up the amount of fingers for our viewers to see how many yards Jeremiah Smith had. Because you can do it on one hand. Sorry, we don't have video. Viewers, you can't see.
But if you could see, you would be surprised.
It is 3 total yards the whole game from Jeremiah Smith. And Ohio State still won.
Yeah, that is insane.
Just the fact that Ohio State's offense wasn't reliant on that one player. And that screen pass to end the half.
Yeah.
How about that? I was thinking maybe they'd get in field goal range, and then seeing the blitz come in, the screen pass go, everyone else deep. I'd seen that way too many times against my brother in Madden to know that it was a bad thing. So Ohio State wins the game based on a couple key plays. That screen play, that fumble return, obviously with some other stuff in there. Those are the 2 key plays in my mind.
Yeah. Just ended it.
Ended it. Anything else about the semifinals from you, Baden?
Yeah, I don't know. Texas got to the 1-yard line to tie up the game, and Ohio State's defense shut them out. Well, not shut them out, fumble recovery. Yeah. But they got to, 4th and... It went from 1st and goal on the 1-yard line to 4th and 8, 4th and 12. It would have been still 4th and goal, but they pushed them back at least 10 yards. And I couldn't, move. I couldn't talk. I was so dumbfounded. And then watching him, Quinn Ewers, roll out, and number 33,
Jack
Sawyer, who they talked about that storyline the whole game. They kept bringing it up, how they were old roommates. As he's rolling out, you see Jack Sawyer come over, get the fumble, take it to the house, and I got the remote, turned off the game, went to bed. Yep, that was it. All right, there we go. That was the game.
4th and goal from the Ohio State 8, as you said, after 1st and goal at Ohio State 1. And yeah, that a lot of people complain about the pitch play, and I did complain about play calling earlier with Drew Aller, but SEC and any Division I play caller knows far more about football than I do.
Yeah.
And so obviously I'm going to complain if it doesn't go the way I expect it to, or my way, and this situation did go the way I would have picked. But still, I do want to give him credit because their play caller obviously knows way more than I do.
Yeah.
And then let's finish with the championship. This was really close to being another Ohio State blowout. Notre Dame made it a little close at the end.
In the 4th quarter, they started closing the gap.
Yeah, after the missed field goal, there just wasn't much coming back from that. Even though it still was a 2-possession game, you could just hear, as the field goal hit the upright, you could hear the momentum leaving the building from Notre Dame.
Yeah. All the morale, team momentum, everything. Because they picked up momentum. And after that doink, it was pretty much done.
100%. And Ohio State won the national championship. The first 12-team bracket, I think, was very entertaining. If you look at it as a whole, sure the first round wasn't. Sure there were games that really weren't. But I do think this was overall entertaining.
Yeah.
And especially, we saw the 7 and the 8 seed in the championship.
Yeah.
Both of these teams get left out under the previous format, which just shows that there are other good teams outside of the top 4, or even the best conference champions, because Oregon won the Big Ten. Ohio State didn't. Notre Dame isn't even in a conference, which means that they got to keep a lot of the money from in the conference championship. I would be a fan of reseeding next season, at least somewhat.
Yeah.
I think it would make the first games more entertaining if not every conference champion got a bye week or the top 4. Because if you open, or if you give some of these teams bye weeks that really didn't look all that great in the regular season compared to some other teams. I mean, like Texas was the 5 seed, and I said I didn't really have faith in them. But like Penn State looked really good this season, and they were ranked under Arizona State and Boise State just because of conference championships. That's the only reason why.
Yeah.
And so a reseeding, I do think, would boost viewership and boost entertainment of the original games.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
But let's look back at our predictions. We don't have to spend a super long time on here because it was not pretty as a whole. But let's look back.
You want to start bottom to top or top to bottom?
Are you just with our 12?
We can do it however you want. I just have my original 12 here in front of me.
Yep.
But if you want to do it a different way, totally do it with me.
Let's kind of breeze through. I'll give my number 1. You give your number 1.
All right, perfect.
And then we can do snake like we do our normal top 10, top 10, bottom 10, and just to cover more in this episode, we won't do that this episode. Sorry, guys, but it will be back.
Yes, it will come back. Don't worry.
Don't worry. We are still the home of the nice catch top 10 and bottom 10.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I did put Oregon at number 1 before. I thought based on the schedule and their roster that they would be the number 1 seed. So I got that right.
I had Oregon at number 1 as well. Number 1 seed. That was correct going into it.
Mm-hmm. Who'd you have at number 2?
Georgia, which also Georgia was the number 2. So my top 2 were there. They were there.
Hey, good job.
Oregon, Georgia.
I had Alabama at number 2. I thought they'd win the SEC. Obviously, they didn't. And so it was an SEC team, but not the right one. Mm-hmm. Number 3, I had Miami, and it's tough because their offense was amazing, but they didn't have a very good defense. So got that one wrong.
Number 3, I had Miami as well. Okay. Cam Ward, amazing, but they just didn't end up. Yeah, I guess defense. They just didn't end up making it. Mm-hmm. Number 4, I had Utah at number 4. So that didn't happen.
Well, I'll do you one better. I had Kansas at number 4.
Also no.
And they closed out the season well. We saw them knocking off some top teams like Colorado and Baylor, our top Big 12 teams. But did not happen. It was a Big 12 team at number 4, so we got that. We got the conference right.
Yes, but not. We didn't quite get it.
No. Number 5, I had Georgia. I had them as the SEC runner-up, and they were the SEC winner, and so it was close, but not quite right.
I had number 5. I had Ohio State.
Okay.
And so top 5, close enough. But I had them a lot lower than they ended up. I guess in seeding going into it, I had them higher. Mm-hmm. In the actual outcome, had them much lower.
True.
And then number 6, I had Texas, which I think was a fairly accurate place to put them for how it all panned out.
Definitely. Number 6, I had Penn State, which it was correct. My Big Ten predictions were pretty much exactly right, that Penn State would lose to Oregon in the championship. And here they are. Number 6, exactly where I predicted, even though I do think this conference was easiest to guess. I had Ohio State at 7, which was also, it was one spot off. I just didn't think that they would do enough in the regular season to make the conference championship.
Yep. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this might have been the only one that I actually got right. I had number 7. I had Notre Dame.
Okay. You also.
Were they number 8?
They were number 7. Okay. You had Oregon and Georgia right, so give yourself a little more credit.
Sorry, I had Oregon, Georgia, Notre Dame at number 7, and then at number 8, I put Alabama in there.
Okay. So we both gave Alabama some
credit,
a little too much credit. Lane Kiffin would like this. I put Ole Miss in before the season, and he would say they did deserve to be in, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, that's just how Ole Miss goes.
That was your number 8?
Number 8, yes. Did I skip something? Did I?
Nope.
No, okay, great. We're breezing through to get through everything, so I don't want to skip anything or miss anything. Jackson Dart, I thought he'd have a really good season, and he did have a good season, but not playoff caliber.
No.
I give my number 9, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I had Notre Dame at number 9, so 2 spots off here. And I think under reseeding, actually, I won't talk about that. We can talk about reseeding in an episode later, like this spring if it happens. But
Perfect.
Notre Dame at number 9. We'll leave it at that.
All right. I had Penn State at number 9.
Good. Pretty close.
Yeah, pretty close. Not bad. And then at number 10, very much off, I had Michigan. I mean, I expected them after winning the national championship. Yes, they lost running back. They lost their quarterback. But I had some faith that, and their coach, but I had some faith that just Michigan as a team would be able to get back into that top 12, top 15, and they did not.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. So number 10, Michigan. Incorrect.
Number 10, I had Clemson. So they did make the playoffs, but I gave them an at-large berth instead of a conference championship berth because I gave their conference berth to Miami, who didn't even make the conference championship. But I had their seeding about right. And 11 was my worst take of them all. Before Florida State lost game 1, I put them here. But I just felt too much pressure to not put them there. I really didn't want to. So I learned, don't give in to pressure. But I also did not learn my lesson because I put Oklahoma State at number 11.
Oh.
They did not win one conference game this season. Ollie Gordon was supposed to be what Ashton Jeanty was, and that did not pan out. So, Oklahoma State did not play like I thought they would, and did not even come close to number 11. I'm not even sure they were number 11 in their conference.
Yeah, I had my worst take is coming soon. My number 11 was Ole Miss.
Okay.
Close, but not quite. My number 12, which just turned out really funny about halfway through the season, was Liberty. I thought Liberty was going to win their conference and get in. No. First off. Second off, was it Kennesaw State? Kennesaw State got their very first victory in their college football program against
as an FBS team.
As an FBS team against Liberty University. Shortly after, Liberty University's quarterback transferred, or is going to. Well, I guess after the season, but he's transferring. So Liberty pretty much fell apart.
Yeah.
The wheels fell off the train.
Yeah.
Whatever the saying is, it happened, and Liberty did not make the top 12.
Exactly.
Disappointing.
My group of 5 at-large berth was correct, and I felt really proud of it. I picked Boise State to be number 12.
I remember that.
And early in the season, I can check my notes if you want me to, listeners. Just comment if you don't believe me. Early in the season, I said that there's a chance they could move up to the 4 seed. And they even exceeded that. They made the 3 seed.
Yep.
But their schedule looked good, and my reasoning wasn't even mostly Ashton Jeanty. It was their quarterback play. And their quarterback play, the guy who I thought was going to start USC transfer, didn't even start. So my reasoning was very faulty. But I picked the right team.
Yes.
And so I can brag about that a little bit. So
Absolutely.
I had a few that on my just missed. I don't know if you put those on your notes, but
no, I did not.
I had Tennessee and just missed, so that was close. I had Texas in my just missed. I just didn't think they could come through after their injuries. There would be too many close games lost because of that, so which was wrong.
Yeah. Well, close games were lost.
True.
Close games were lost.
I put Liberty in my just missed, so feel a little better there.
Yeah.
Also Utah, so don't worry.
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, that might have been that. Utah was also close to my worst take.
Yeah.
Miami. I had some good ones, and I had a lot of bad ones.
Yeah. So there you go. I had Oregon beating Georgia in the final, which did not happen. Neither of those teams even made it. I had Ohio State losing in the first round and Notre Dame losing in the first round. So,
hey,
neither of those happened.
Not quite.
So
we're podcasters, not future tellers.
Well, hey, part of podcasting should be being able to analyze sports, but neither of us can do it apparently.
No.
Well,
we did. I give us some credit.
Hey, we're amateurs.
Seating wise, we did pretty well.
Exactly.
pretty flippin' fantastic.
And for amateurs, I mean, you look at someone like the amazing Colin Cowherd saying that the Steelers should trade George Pickens, T.J. Watt, and 2 first-round picks for Shedeur Sanders. I think if he still has a job, then I think we deserve at least a little bit of credit.
I think we're good. When was it him or Skip Bayless that said that Johnny Manziel would be a bigger name in Cleveland than LeBron James?
Yeah.
So I think that we have some room. We have some room for improvement, but we have some room for a little grace too.
Yeah.
All right. We have some room for a little grace. We're up there. We're making mistakes with the greatest.
Yep. Give me Iguodala.
I've been seeing, this is so random, but as we transition to our next topic, for some reason I've been seeing so many Instagram reels with LeVar Ball talking about how his sons are going to be better than, it's like LeBron is not the best player on the Lakers right now. And he's like, who is? And he's like, said whatever his son's name is and stuff. I don't know. It's hilarious.
We're not
a
basketball podcast.
No, we're not. But the rage bait is incredible
there
from LeVar Ball.
Yeah.
Gives you a laugh. Anyway,
Let's
next topic.
Let's talk for a couple minutes about Heisman before moving to the NFL playoffs.
I don't want to.
Yeah. Obviously, the odds, everything in Vegas said Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
And both of us, we talked last episode, I believe it was our last episode, about the Heisman Trophy race. It was our last episode, episode 16. And we both agreed Genty should win the Heisman.
Absolutely.
And I was glad that it was close. Obviously, closest race since Mark Ingram in 2009. But didn't play out like we were hoping it would. And my reasoning, as I think is most Genty fans' reasoning, is that, sure, Travis Hunter did stuff we've never seen before.
He's doing air quotes. In case
air quotes, never seen before.
Air quotes are happening at this moment.
But you switch Travis Hunter and Ashton Genty. If you do that, likely neither team makes the playoffs. But Genty is a more valuable player as a whole than Travis Hunter is. Sure, he's in the group of 5, but you saw what he even did against Penn State.
Yeah.
You saw what he did against Oregon, who is the number 1 team in the country going into the playoffs. And without him, Boise State doesn't even come close to the playoffs. They don't win their conference. We saw UNLV was a good team. Without Ashton Genty, UNLV beats Boise State. So, Genty is the people's Heisman. Travis Hunter's the media Heisman. But hey, we're sports media, and we're going for Ashton Genty.
Yeah, so we're making a difference.
Exactly.
We change one step at a time. I just, Travis Hunter, team wasn't ranked, didn't make a playoff game, didn't make a bowl game, or they made a bowl game.
Yes.
Didn't make a conference championship, any of that. And yes, there's an argument Heisman isn't a team award, but who is the reason that Boise State was in the playoffs? They have a good team. They had a good team, good quarterback. They had a good team, but who was the reason they were in the playoffs?
Jonah Delmas.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yes.
Although he is a good kicker, so we'll NFL future possibly.
Hey,
anyway,
yeah.
but no, it was not Jonah Delmas.
Ashton Genty. So yeah, is it a team award? No. On every imaginable stat line, is Ashton Genty objectively a more valuable player in college football right now or last season? Yes. I don't think you can objectively say no, looking at just stats. And that was I understand. I don't think it was correct, but I understand why it happened. Definitely disappointing though.
Yeah, and I do want to give Travis Hunter his flowers.
Amazing
he was
player.
An insane
Amazing
player.
athlete.
The fact that you're able to play both sides of the ball and excel at both. Sure, he wasn't the best at either. He wasn't the best corner. He wasn't the best receiver. The fact that he won the Bill Ekinoff, I don't like it. But, yeah, he was a very good player. And if Ashton Genty didn't win the Heisman, Travis Hunter should have won the Heisman. Just maybe he wasn't the difference maker, but what he did, the unicorn that he is, did deserve some votes.
Yeah.
I just think Genty deserved more.
Agreed.
So let's look at the NFL playoffs. Luckily, we're starting back at a time that we have more going on still at this point. So NFL playoff bracket. So into the regular season, you had the Broncos and the Bengals kind of battling for that last playoff spot. Sure, the Dolphins were in that too, but no, the Dolphins were not going to make it.
No.
I mean, technically they had a better shot than the Bengals, but we knew that the Dolphins were not going to make it far in the playoffs. And then, I don't know, maybe the Chiefs lost on purpose to keep the Bengals out.
The Bengals out. I think it's a possibility, but also, you're resting your starters.
Yeah, we won't dive into that. Yeah. If we want to look at round one, I think most things went how I was expecting.
Yes.
Before
we get too far into it, I just want to say it was one of the most disappointingly boring wild card rounds. Maybe not boring. It was a bunch of blowouts, except for one game.
Mm-hmm.
There was one game that wasn't a blowout, and I enjoyed watching them all, but I was hoping for a little bit more out of the teams that lost. But continue.
I agree with you there. I saw the Ravens beating the Steelers. I did see that one being a little closer.
I thought it was going to be a lot closer. I knew the Ravens would come out with it.
Yes, based on the regular season and how each team was playing leading up. That wasn't a surprise. The Bills blowing out the Broncos, I didn't expect it to be that much of a blowout, but I do want to give the Broncos props for making it this far. I thought the Broncos were going to be a bottom 3 team in the league.
We said I was gonna make a point. I had it in my notes for this episode to at some point apologize to the football world, to the Broncos, and to my roommate Aiden Hecht from Colorado. I made sure the people on the podcast knew that the Broncos, I also talked bad about their uniforms, which I grew to appreciate, I will say, but I really thought they were going to be one of the worst, if not the worst team in the NFL. And I believe, I guess y'all can go back and check in our earlier episodes, but I believe that I am on record saying that. I'm almost positive that I am on record saying that the Broncos were going to be one of the, if not the worst team in the NFL.
Yeah, probably episode 9 if you want to look back. Just my best guess.
And they made it to the playoffs. Bo Nix scored on his opening drive. That was the only score. I think there's a lot of things we could talk about with the Broncos, receiving, running back situations. There's a lot of stuff going into that. I will say, I think some people thought that Sean Payton, Bo Nix, Broncos, I think some people thought that Bo Nix was a good decision. I think there were a lot of people that did not think that Bo Nix was a great decision for the Broncos. And I will say, is he going to get Rookie of the Year? Not with Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels has cemented himself as he's going to be the Rookie of the Year this year, or Offensive Rookie of the Year. But I think that Bo Nix had an amazing rookie season, a surprising rookie season. And so, although they got blown out by the Bills first round, and yes, I do think the Bengals would have played better than the Broncos did, I mean, it's awesome for the Broncos. Broncos fans should be excited.
100%.
Excited.
Yeah, you get some more quality receivers in there. Your defense played really well, and you upped your run game a little bit.
One of the best secondaries in the league.
You have Surtain, you have the linebackers and defensive line playing way better than I thought as well. Other not very surprising games. The Eagles beating the Packers. The Packers did surprise me this season. Well, okay. Based on how they started this season, it was not looking great. Jordan Love getting hurt. Malik Willis did play well. And then they just went through a lot of ups and downs. Yeah. And I guess they didn't really surprise me. I saw them being about where they were this season.
They surprised me from before the season. I thought they were going to do better. And at the beginning of the season, I thought they were going to do worse. So they surprised me on 2 levels.
Yeah, they were kind of
surprised me with a mellow average.
Exactly. It was like the Packers looked like they were going to be anything but average, and then they actually were average.
Yeah.
So, and then let's talk about the surprising games, and then get into the nail biter, the wild card.
Agreed.
So, I thought the Texans were going to get beat.
I thought they were going out first round. I'd given myself up to it. I was like, you know what? I'll root for a different team. The Texans are going out first round.
Didn't happen.
No.
My family was going out to eat that night, and we most of the game was already over before then. But, we saw the end, the interceptions, the missed kicks. And, it was very surprising to me because the Chargers have a good defensive line. The Texans have a very bad offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
And the Chargers looked like their offense was really going well. Their running game especially. The Texans' defense did look good. Mm-hmm. So I had faith in the Texans' defense. But we saw the Texans play a very good game, especially on the defensive side. Going in, C.J. Stroud did not have a great sophomore season. No. Justin Herbert had a relatively very good this season. He's, I don't know, 2020 was when he was drafted, and so this was his fourth season. And so the fact that he threw 4 picks, that was one of the most surprising storylines of the wild card.
Yeah.
And then it gave me faith in the Texans for the next round, but we'll get to that later.
We'll get there when we get there.
Yeah. It restored hope for me for the Texans for the future. Mm-hmm. So if they can do this well with receivers and other positions injured, then they can do well in the future.
Just dedicate every pick in the draft towards an offensive lineman, and I think we'll be good.
Yeah.
I think we'll be set.
And then the Rams and the Vikings.
Maybe some athletic trainers.
There
I don't know if you can get them in the draft, but that'd be a good idea. Something to look up. Something to look into.
Yeah. The Rams and the Vikings, that game, well...
For me, huge surprise.
It was a surprise. I thought it was going to be close based on the fact that the Rams did beat the Vikings earlier this season. But the fact that it was a blowout, blew my mind because the Vikings looked like a really good team. We saw against the Lions some trouble with blocking and schemes in that way, but I thought that they would figure it out a little bit. They really didn't. The Rams took full advantage of that.
No touchdowns scored.
Wild. They did score 1 touchdown.
They did score 1 touchdown?
It was, 9 because it was a missed 2-point conversion.
Oh, okay.
Because it was in garbage time. I mean, it was 3-27 with 7 minutes left. So, I'm really sad that the Vikings had to go out in that way because obviously, very surprising year. The fact that Sam Darnold at the helm led, of course, they were a defensive team.
Yeah.
But the fact that he was able to lead the Vikings almost to a 1 seed was amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
He 100% deserves his flowers, deserves to be on a team somewhere, even though he didn't play great in the last 2 games.
I bet one person who was not mad about that was J.J. McCarthy.
True.
I bet he's not too... obviously, you want your team to do well, of course. But I bet he wasn't too terribly upset. It looks like he definitely has a better chance than he did going into the playoffs of coming straight into being the starter.
Yeah.
Off his injury.
Of course, we do know that Aaron Rodgers will be on the Vikings next season because he's following Brett Favre's career path. And so, as long as J.J. McCarthy can hold off, I almost said Brett Favre. As long as he can hold off Aaron Rodgers, there you go.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Although I honestly would not be surprised.
Yeah, it's actually kind of weird, and it's just funny that all the Packers quarterbacks just all are so similar in their play style and everything. Anyways,
let's talk about the nail biter of the wild cards. I expected it to go about like this, not quite as nail biting.
I thought it was going to go like this, but flipped.
Flipped. Okay, this was the one I expected to be the closest. I did think the Commanders had the X factor that the Bucs didn't have for most of the season. Of course, they have Mike Evans. Of course, Baker Mayfield is, even as a rookie, Jaden Daniels was just about as established a starter as Baker Mayfield.
Absolutely.
I saw one on Fox Sports. They ranked Jaden Daniels as the best rookie quarterback of all time. And I don't know, hindsight. Once we move past this season, it'll be easier to look at everything as a whole. But
more objectively.
Yes. I mean, Jaden Daniels 100% deserves his flowers. You look at Dak Prescott had a really good rookie season. C.J. Stroud, very good rookie season. Guys like Dan Marino, way back in the day, before either of us were alive.
Ben Roethlisberger,
exactly. Another guy that deserves to be up there. But Jaden Daniels leading first-year head coach, an offense that doesn't really on paper look that great.
Yeah.
to an NFC championship, and we'll see. I would love for him to make a Super Bowl.
First year, me too.
Well, either of these teams have great storylines with them. But the regular season, Bo Nix and Brock Bowers both deserve to be in Offensive Rookie of the Year conversation.
But it's done now.
Yeah.
Door's closed.
If you look at the playoffs, then Jaden Daniels is the best rookie of recent history, probably.
Yes. Yeah, that game, I think my favorite quarterback, possibly favorite player in the league right now is Baker Mayfield.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had hopes. And I mean, I just can't get past Baker running up the middle, sticking Bobby Wagner, trucking two other guys before being tackled. It took 3 guys to bring him down after he already trucked 2 or 3 other. I mean, quarterbacks just don't do that. And I just love Baker Mayfield for it.
Yeah.
The Commanders deserved that win. It was a really good game. I can't even say I was disappointed. I genuinely love the Commanders. It proved I said when we talked about our draft picks, I said that I thought Jaden Daniels should be a higher draft than Caleb Williams.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this season has proved that possibly was correct, although I'm glad he went to the Commanders and not the Bears, because that would have changed things, I think, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
But, so really happy for Jaden Daniels. I'm really behind the Commanders storyline.
Mm-hmm.
But I was hoping for a Buccaneers win. I just love the Bucs. I love Baker Mayfield, really, is what it is.
Really, I think the only other quarterback I can think of that would truck Bobby Wagner is Will Levis, and I don't think it would end the same way.
It would not have the same result. We'd get a funny picture out of it.
But yeah, this was the best game of the wild card, and one that puts the Cowboys farther down in the NFC East history as for playoff wins, and the next game even more so. But who cares about the Cowboys? Just kidding.
Hank cares about the Cowboys.
No comment. Divisional round. The last games we've seen, and then we'll talk about the future in our last 5 or 10 minutes. Least surprising. Well, all these games were pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
The Eagles beating the Rams. Well, actually, I don't even know what order I want to talk about these in. All these are so good.
The least surprising outcome-wise was probably Texans-Chiefs.
Yes.
I am glad that it was a close-ish game. The Chiefs pretty much they I wouldn't say dominated, but the Chiefs controlled the game from the beginning. It seemed like the Texans made it close, so I was happy about that. But the Chiefs, that outcome was expected, and I wouldn't have been surprised if the Texans could have pulled it off. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot was against them, and they just haven't been Chiefs beating caliber this season. Off of last game, I thought there was a chance, but although I was disappointed and I was excited that they made it close, I wasn't surprised by the ending, I don't think, at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you there. Probably was the least surprising. Second least surprising was the Eagles beating the Rams. The Eagles this whole season have been amazing. Saquon Barkley, you see all the memes about how the Giants general manager hasn't gotten any sleep this season, which is fair. I don't know why you let Saquon walk like that.
Glad you did, though.
Yeah, the Eagles are very glad he did. And with the Rams' passing game and their defense, I thought there was a good chance that they win. But it didn't happen. It was really close.
Really close.
Very, very close game.
Which I was very happy about.
Yes, especially in the snow. Snow games are always so fun to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with these type of teams. But Eagles didn't end up winning, as was expected.
Yeah. Seeing a run-it-down-your-throat team in the snow, that's just fun. That's
scary.
Just fun. Scary, definitely. Oh, very scary. But yeah, I would say not super surprising.
Yeah. And then one that surprised me a good bit, not the most surprising, that we'll talk about for last, that I think was everyone's most surprising, was the Bills and the Ravens. I really thought the Ravens were going to win. I thought it was going to be close. But I thought the Derrick Henry factor plus Lamar Jackson was bigger than the Josh Allen factor.
Okay, yeah. I think that's fair.
But we saw that was not true in this game.
I would say I can say what's not surprising is how good a game it was and how close it was. That's not surprising.
Yes.
These two teams, like Chiefs, Ravens, Bills, and in the past Bengals, when those teams play, you just know it's going to be a good game.
Definitely.
And it was an amazing game.
Yeah, when you have a superstar quarterback, and especially a guy like Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
I mean, but they held Derrick Henry under 100 yards, and I think that was the story of the game, was the Bills' defense being able to contain. I mean, Lamar still threw for 254 yards, and Derrick Henry rushed for 84. And that's just Lamar's passing and Derrick Henry's rushing. That's not any other stat. So, this game was a little surprising, but I'm glad the Bills are moving on. I would love for Josh Allen to make a Super Bowl.
Me too.
But then the most surprising game, the Commanders beating the Lions.
Goodness gracious. I have to confess, I didn't even watch that game. It wasn't for any specific reason. I think, Saturday. Oh, it was for a specific reason. It was, I was on my way back from Alabama on the bus for a track meet. So that was the reason. But I got off the bus because I just wasn't really on my phone. I was kind of sleeping, just chilling. And I heard some of the guys on the team kind of talking about it. They're like, oh, it's a close game. I was like, oh wow. And then I got off the bus, looked at the score, and I was just like, somewhat heartbroken, but also just I couldn't even. It was unfathomable.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the fact that the Lions gave up 45 points. Of course, we saw the way that the Lions-Bills game went this season, and so it wasn't
a lot of defensive injuries.
Yes, of course, defensive injuries, but the fact that it was against a rookie quarterback and a first-year head coach.
Yeah.
Of course, that's I don't want to make that the only storyline, but it just makes everything the Commanders are doing so much more amazing. I'm sad the Lions had to go out like this.
Yeah.
Because they deserved at least a Super Bowl appearance based on how they played this season.
Absolutely.
But, dude, Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, that's a storyline to get behind.
This changes things. Like, that game, I don't know. In my mind, it was, I thought the Eagles were obviously going to be in the NFC Championship, but it was the AFC was going to be tight, but I was like, all right, Lions, NFC, they're the NFC Super Bowl pick. It just didn't seem contestable.
Yeah, we said that all throughout the season.
Yeah, that did not change near the end of the season. And they came in there and they whooped on them.
Yeah. Let's talk about these last few games and then maybe spend a couple minutes talking about, head coaching, NFL draft stuff, just because I told you we'd talk about it, and so we need to at least touch on it.
Touch on it, for sure.
So, likely matchup for the Super Bowl, Eagles probably going to beat the Commanders. Chiefs-Bills is going to be close.
Yeah.
But, just based on history, based on defense, the Bills did beat the Chiefs, but that does worry me because the Chiefs' coaching is good enough to know how to change that.
How to change how to know what to change.
Yeah.
Know what they did wrong and change it.
So, I would not be surprised Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl, and I think in that case the Eagles win it.
I think that's
this
fair.
year I do think the Eagles can take on the Chiefs. Maybe. I don't know.
That would be. I want something different.
But a Bills-Commanders Super Bowl, please.
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 Hear us. That would be so. Okay, so you've got the Bills. You've got the team that made it to 4 straight Super Bowls and lost. 4 straight or just 4?
4 straight and
four
lost
straight
all 4.
And lost all 4. All right, and then you have, now that the Bills are good again, you have them getting beat by Patrick Mahomes 4 times. Not is it just in the playoffs or in the AFC Championship?
In the playoffs.
In the playoffs, they've been beat 3 times. This is their 4th time. I don't want to. That is correct. They've been beat 3 times.
You just
going
them,
in to their 4th time. Please no. going into their 4th time playing the Chiefs. Okay, so that's a big story. Then you have the Commanders, who have just broken their record as the biggest playoff drought from a team. They've just broken that, and they're going on their 2nd win with a rookie quarterback. Those 2 stories, having them in a Super Bowl this year, would be so incredibly incredible. I can't even wrap my head around it. Mm-hmm. I would be, in that scenario, I root for the Bills, but I would be, whoever won, I'd be excited. Mm-hmm. That's just awesome.
That's a Super Bowl America wants right there.
Yes. If the Eagles make it, I'll be happy. I love Saquon. Mm-hmm. I love his sportsmanship. I really respected him sliding it was against the Packers? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was that game. Him sliding, I really respected that. He had an open touchdown, didn't take it. I just think he shows a lot of sportsmanship. I like the Eagles. I don't even think I have to talk about my feelings on the Bills-Chiefs game. But Commanders-Bills would just be so cool. Mm-hmm. Either way, I'm rooting for Bills, I think. I'll just go ahead and say that now so you'll all know I want the Bills to win the Super Bowl.
I'm with you there. Let's just spend – are you okay spending just a couple minutes on that?
Yes, sir. It's my job. Just kidding. We're not getting paid.
We're not getting paid.
But
hey.
It's my fun job.
Maybe someday. College is expensive.
That's true.
So head coaching hirings that have happened so far, not very surprising. We've seen Ben Johnson to the Bears, which I think is going to be really interesting. Either it's going to play out really well, and we're going to see what he did on the Lions happen on the Bears, or it's going to crash and burn like most Bears head coaching positions do.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams is definitely an experiment for him. Could really play well because it plays with his style really well, or it could crash and burn. And then Aaron Glenn going to the Jets. The Jets wasn't exactly where I expected him to go. Most people are saying to the Saints. But him getting hired, not surprising. The Cowboys head coaching opening is going to be very interesting because it's the question of who wants to work with Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
And then other positions, the Saints, the Patriots. The Patriots hired Mike Vrabel. That was very early, and I think that works very well. So, lots of names being thrown around. Kellen Moore for the Cowboys, and the fact that their offensive coordinator is in the race is very confusing. But, and I think one more thing we should touch on about the offseason is NFL draft odds. People saying Travis Hunter for number 1, but I think the biggest debate is Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. I would pick Cam Ward first based on his playmaking ability and his experience. Shedeur Sanders has great playmaking ability, but I don't think he has the experience that Cam Ward has.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
Mm-hmm. So that's how I would rank just the top 2. We will do a draft episode because that is my favorite thing to talk about.
We did
all of football.
We kind of crushed that section over the summer.
The draft?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. We did just about everything, every possible segue and split off that could have to do with the draft.
Oh, yeah.
Those were some really fun episodes.
So fun. Hey,
all of them were fun.
And it happens every year?
See, that's the coolest part.
Mm-hmm.
We'll never be out of a fun job. We'll never be out of fun.
Exactly.
So we can always cover the draft.
Dude, those are the biggest things for the off season. I have homework to do tonight.
It's true. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
I gotta read. Gotta do a workbook. Fun stuff.
Just all the fun things. Hey, I get to write an autobiography about intercultural communications.
I have to write an autobiography too, but mine's due Friday.
All right.
So, although we'll see if this releases tonight.
Oh my goodness! I also have the same autobiography.
Yeah, we sit right next to each other.
I have 2 autobiographies due in different classes. Same professor, amazing professor. Anyways, that's all.
Awesome.
Cool. Off track.
Well,
we weren't never on track.
Now you know about the playoffs. Hopefully, you probably already knew. If this is your only way you listen to sports, I'd be a little surprised.
I'd be very impressed.
Very
honored that your only connection to sports is through listening to us. I appreciate that.
But hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll get back into the swing of things after taking a bit off for the break, and we're excited.
Yeah. Believe it or not, my only connection to sports is this podcast. I've never watched a football game.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
False.
Good. Well, thanks for listening to the Nice Catch Podcast. If you love football, continue to tune in each episode from the offseason all the way through the playoffs. This is the Nice Catch Podcast.